Alfredo, this podcast is getting so big, we could even be on the cover of People magazine.
Heck, National Geographic.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome to Cinema Fourcast. It's me, Alfredo, and sitting across the way over there,
It's Connor.
Cinema Fourcast, of course, the podcast where every month we are randomly assigned a category, and attached we have 4 films that we feel fit the category, and each week we review one of those films. This week we're tackling one of Connor's favorites.
Oh, well, yeah, we're watching Tremors.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're the one who showed me this movie, so I just right off the bat.
Yeah, favorite's a strong word. I gotta say, though, I do love this movie.
One of your golden oldies, I'll say.
It's a golden oldie, to be sure. And not just that, we're also starting our very first new category since we've started this podcast, with desert movies.
Yes, full title, which I'm super proud of. Save the best for last, desert movies.
And that's kind of ironic because this is not the last. This is the first.
Yeah, I've never seen any of the other ones. I mean, we'll talk about that. We'll get to it. But yeah, I'm excited for this category. The first one was so set up for us.
Yeah.
We were talking about this. We were chatting a little bit about this, and then we hurried to turn on the microphones because we were getting into too much.
Yes.
But like the hero's journey, there are those sort of steps, the requirements, the schema is set out in front of you, and it was just our sort of job in those movies. Our task in those movies was sort of looking at these steps that had been set by someone much more intelligent and who had done much more research than us, and kind of applying them to these films. But this is kind of what's exciting about this. I feel like we're getting into what this is really going to be about. I feel like it is an opportunity for us to explore themes in different films and how, honestly, these themes can connect really sort of disparate properties.
Yeah, absolutely. And we both came into this episode with, we kind of brainstormed on our own before or during watching this movie, a list of themes we felt we wanted out of a desert movie, and kind of how to look at this whole month of content looking forward. Just what is it in a desert movie that speaks to us, or that we think can be brought out of a movie? And maybe you went at it differently than I did too, Alfredo.
No. I think it's about expectations, about what makes it quintessentially deserty.
Yeah. It's funny. We're doing this episode kind of earlier in the day than we usually do as well. And on my drive here, I was feeling a little groggy. And I was a little... Well, it reminded me of a conversation that's at the beginning of The Matrix, which is feeling like you're awake, but you're still dreaming a little bit. Have you ever had that feeling where I was on my way here in the car, and I just like rolled down the windows for a little bit, let some cool air in, and I just had this very surreal feeling like I was still dreaming. And it reminded me of that scene in The Matrix, and some of the things I kind of like out of desert themes is some of the more existential questions of like, what are we? But yeah, it kind of reminded me of that one story or like anecdote of someone who had a dream that they were a butterfly, and then they woke up, and the quote is, "Now I do not know whether I was a man that was dreaming I was a butterfly, or whether I am now a butterfly dreaming I am a man." And I kind of had that on the drive here today. Have you ever had any kind of trippy, weird experiences like that, Alfredo?
What the fuck are you talking about? No, absolutely not. No, I'm just joking. Every time I sit across the podcasting table from you, it feels like I am in a dream. I get to talk movies with one of my best buds in the whole wide world. Yeah, dude, absolutely. I definitely do have that experience, and yeah, I mean, as well as moments of dissociation as well. But yeah, I don't know. I will have times where I kind of describe it as like I am looking through my eyes, but like I'm outside. I always do this. I'm reaching behind my head, kind of pointing like my consciousness is located not within my skull, but somewhere further back, almost pointing to like the existence like of my soul being like hanging out of my body kind of.
Yeah, so that's kind of the cerebral stuff we're looking for in these desert themes here. Uh,
Yeah, we're getting some esoteric
w-
shit,
which
dude.
is not what this movie is at all. And yet, I freaking love this movie. And there's a lot of other desert things about it. Should we get into what our themes were?
Yeah, for sure. I'll go first here, just because I feel like we had you doing a lot of heavy lifting with listing every step of the hero's journey for all of the
You
episodes.
did one, I believe.
Oh,
Finding Nemo, perhaps.
oh, yeah. So for desert movies, first of all, gotta be set in a desert.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't write that down, but that is on. Yeah.
And there was a point in this movie where I was like, fuck, did we fuck up? And then I started thinking about the other films we had chosen. I was like, did we fuck? And like, but whatever, dude. Because I think I say that and kind of tongue in cheek because it is, to me, a desert movie is about exploring, and all of these are sort of connected. The idea of isolation,
Yeah.
man versus nature,
Yep.
scarcity,
Yep.
survival, death. And one thing that I really like that I am excited to explore later on this month a lot more, and that is mentioned in this film though, is the presence or lack of resources, be they like natural resources or for the most part I think they're natural. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to get into the definitions of natural. I don't know all that shit. But those are sort of the things that I look for, right? Like people going out to an isolated environment to be and self-reliance was another thing
Yeah.
I put down cuz and I didn't write this down, but I feel like, and this is an illusion, well I think we mentioned we have an aquatic films category, the implication of water through the lack thereof. Not so much in this movie, but I think it's something worth mentioning.
Totally. That's so good. Yeah, I was kind of hoping we get the aquatic, like, on the next wheel spin. Just if it just so happens to be after the desert movies, that'd be pretty.
Yeah, dude,
That'd be
fire
pretty
and
awesome.
water, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Some of the ones you said directly are exactly how I put them in my themes as well. So I have 9 that I listed out. Starting with hopelessness/futility, isolation, sanctity of water, spiritual desolation/reawakening, beauty of nature, silence, man versus nature, Lovecraftian horror, and insanity.
I like the religious aspect. I think because of our sort of global setting and the center of Abrahamic religions being an area often associated with deserts, and I thought of like Malcolm X and his Hajj just now when you were talking about that, like going to Mecca. I think that's very cool. I love that call. Very cool call. Um, there was one that you said towards the end that I thought was
Lovecraftian horror?
yes, because I don't associate that with that. I always think of like New England.
Oh, in terms of, yeah, well, let me explain what I mean by Lovecraftian horror here. I was trying to think of the helplessness, like, which is also in a lot of these themes kind of tie together. Like my first was hopelessness and futility, and uh, the sense that, like, the sun is this kind of indifferent force of nature that is going to kill you, but also can like be
Like
the
an
source.
outer god type being.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Just
yeah.
this kind of feeling of being a speck in a wasteland.
Right. So Lovecraftian horror as a sort of like way of evoking a feeling, less so about the specific content.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like it. Good shit. Um I think that as I alluded to earlier, Connor is the first one to show me this movie. I remember sitting in his room back in the house, the
Yep.
fucking Prime Meridian, dude.
Prime Meridian.
God, that was like 10 years ago now. It's so wild. But
Yeah.
that movie, remember you telling me, like, I think prefacing it by being like, "This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be like a fun, good time." And then we watched it, and yeah, I was like pretty instantly enamored with it. I think, yeah, dude, just the whole look and vibe. But it's also like when your friend enthusiastically shows you something, and you look over and you see that goofy fucking smile on their face, like you can't help but just be like, "This is what life is about."
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah. No, I was thinking about it, and this is actually of the 5 movies we've done, including this one so far. This is the first one I don't recall when I saw. Um, I had forgotten it came out in 1990. I knew it was the 90s, but older than I thought.
The year of my birth.
Yeah, great,
Hey,
great stuff.
that's what people say about me. Older than I thought.
um, yeah, and I've kind of alluded to this already by saying I would put on The Matrix on repeat all the time. But I watched a lot of really like messed up movies growing up. I was the youngest child, and my parents didn't really care. And so I was watching the Tremors all the time from the time I was gaining memories, basically. And I love this movie. It was one of those movies that I had like kind of forgotten about during a good middle chunk of my life. And then just like maybe, yeah, I think around the time I showed you, I was just like, I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I'm gonna watch it again. Oh my god, I love this movie. I'm gonna share it with my very good friend Alfredo, who I love talking about movies with.
Yeah, it's also like it's just very you to me, like that you're like something, who knows what it was, like reminds you about Tremors, and then you're like, I gotta talk to everyone and show everyone this movie because it's good, and I need them to experience this sort of like happiness. Also, like it is interesting saying at that time that you love talking about movies with me, because I don't know if I was as much of a film guy back then.
I think this is right around the time you and I were getting really into movies. Do you remember Movie Fights, Screen Junkies?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
believe that was Prime Meridian days when we were
Yeah,
both
yeah, for
getting into
sure.
that. So I think we were kind of getting into a phase of just kind of liking to pick apart and dissect movies.
It is really weird to say that as a person who went to film school, like to be like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was a big movie guy, but I don't know. Do you remember the when we at one point when we were first friends, and just a little insight into our relationship. I met Connor when he was 16, and I think I was 19 at the time, and and used to have this sort of philosophy about movie watching. So yeah, just saying all that, prefacing it to say this is like 18 years ago, uh, or 18, no, less than that. I don't. Who cares? Whatever. So my, I used to have this sort of philosophy with movies, like I'm not gonna watch something to be sad or upset. Like a
Oh
movie should
yeah,
only make
I
me
do
like
remember
feel
this.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, isn't that weird?
yeah.
And like now I'm like the one who's like, "Oh no, we need to watch this really punishing like artsy film as part of the fucking I'm talking about Tremors. We have to watch this very artsy film,
Extremely
punishing activity."
cerebral. Yeah,
Yeah.
existential.
But yeah, it's just so wild to think about how long ago that was. But this fucking uh I have going back to the whole like stupid smile on your face, dude. I immediately, as soon as it started, was had that sort of like stupid smile on my face. As I was telling you, I was exhausted because this weekend was Valentine's Day, and we had a big thing at the restaurant. So, like set menu, and it was very exhausting. And I sat down to watch this yesterday after my shift, and I was so tired, but I felt like kind of like this renewed vigor when I watched it. I just
Hell
want to
yeah.
say right off the bat, the writing on this story, I like saying
Oh my
taut
gosh.
writing,
Yeah.
very good, like well done. This is the shortest movie we've seen so far.
Yeah, like right around 90 minutes, I think.
136, yeah.
Yeah.
And we got S.S. Wilson, Brent Maddock, and Ron Underwood, who Ron Underwood was the director as well. But just to kind of kick off our discussion of the plot point by point, I want to say S.S. Wilson said that he got the idea for the movie while he was working for like the U.S. Navy in a desert, and he was resting on this sort of rock, and he imagined what it would be like if something underground kept him from being able to get off.
Love that. Man, that's so good. Yeah, well, I don't know when I wrote this down exactly, but I feel like this movie perfectly embodies the spirit of the floor is lava, like the joy that brings and the excitement around that feeling. But yeah, in terms of a taut screenplay, oh my god, I feel like this might be, I don't want to say best paced, but like most paced movie of everything we've watched. Like even The Matrix is bang 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 bang, but this is even like that on steroids, where it feels like every other scene is escalating what's happening, and there's just kind of this forward momentum that's just keeps the foot on the pedal the whole way
I
through.
think it is partially genre based. This is not a
Yes,
genre with a lot of like stop and think sort of time.
exactly.
But
And that's why
I
I meant like not the best paced, but the most
yeah,
paced.
she moves. She really moves. And escalation is the name of the fucking game. Like
Yeah,
I wrote that down so many times. Escalation, escalation.
yeah.
Really good setup, payoff with
Yes,
escalation. Like where you have a resolution through a setup payoff and then you have a further escalation where like and they're always very like easy to buy into, you know?
right.
Like again, as we've said before, like movies should entertain you. Like they don't all have to be cerebral think pieces. And the shit this movie does is just it has intention and is like good workman like filmmaking. I would say this is like like a good blue collar film. You know?
Yeah, freaking, I'm just blown away by how well everything is set up. It's like it's hard to poke holes in this script. Like everything is so well set up. Like I wrote down somewhere. Oh yeah, my third note was commenting on the stampede at the beginning and just how this movie is the master of setup. Like every single thing is there to give you some payoff later throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really fun and rewarding to watch. It's like those little dopamine triggers.
Yeah, totally.
Speaking of my first thing, got to be set in a desert, right? I did love that first establishing shot.
Yeah.
It's fucking beautiful, and it is like
Mhm.
kind of reminded me that a desert isn't always the Sahara Desert, the sand dunes of
Yeah.
Tatooine. You know,
Yeah.
it is like it's got the like short like shrub, you know, these like
Right.
little bushes all over the place. But like still, it you see this vast landscape.
And
It
all
is
the
beautiful.
mountains.
Yeah, and the mountains for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, even that's like a point in the movie, right? They're
Yeah.
isolated. Like they got a cliff on one side, the mountains on the other. Like, well, dang it, I just want to say the line now because it's so good. But he basically calls the valley a smorgasbord because it's just one long line for these worms to eat through because there's nowhere to
Yeah.
go other than this like box.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful setup. Love that sort of wide establishing shot,
Yeah.
the cows in the background, and yeah, just a sense of scale.
Yeah, I mean one of my themes, beauty of nature,
Yeah,
and just the awe of
absolutely.
it, I think, yeah, very much
I think
captured.
also you just think about that first frame. It is the isolation. The like truck is in the center. Like they're there in the middle, like an island of civilization amongst this like wild
Right.
landscape.
Totally. And a little bit of Lovecraftian horror, just a small speck in this overwhelming nature, which is going to rear its wormy head soon.
Yeah,
Um, one quick note. I was surprised, the first thing I was surprised by was before the movie started, and it's PG-13. This
yeah.
is a brutal PG-13, man. In terms, I mean, it's not super bloody, but this is horrifying stuff. I mean, a lot of this stuff's a lot scarier to me than just like blood.
I like how they say mother humpers.
Yeah, I think the genre online is horror comedy, I believe. I would have to double check that, but I was like, yeah, I guess that kind of fits.
Oh yeah, for sure. There is. Dude, don't ever if you and I ever become like handy odd job guys, and I'm sleeping, do not ever wake me up like
With
that.
Stampede.
I will fucking murder you, dude.
Yeah, I gotta say from the start, I love these two characters and their friendship, Earl and Valentine, man. Like,
Yeah, they're great. I mean, he's got the cigarettes, he's got the lighter. It's a classic relationship. I will say, real fucking dick move though, Val. Real dick move.
Yeah.
But it is great too because it is this sort of setup of like let's set up their relationship, how they work together, how they live together. Also, dude, I like it's so funny just thinking about it like divorced of the context of a film. Like these two guys, they got a business together, they live in the same place, they share one truck, they share a pack of cigarettes and a lighter. They're like two halves of one person.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, I had the one has the lighter, the other has the smokes, and in parentheses, two halves. That's what it feels like. Yeah, they complete each other, and I think they do throughout the movie in the way that their strengths are constantly like raising the other one up. And like that's something I really love about this movie is that I feel like everyone's very clever. Like not just the main characters, but everyone else in the movie feels like they're very reasonable and thinking things out, and they're always bouncing ideas off each other. Um,
Yeah, I would say to contrast it, like one of my gripes about Spider-Man is that at the end he like just overpowers him. Like it doesn't feel like there is like a lot of sort of cleverness
yeah,
in it, but this film delivers on that a lot. As I was saying about establishing the relationship too, very quickly and through like good dialogue. Valentine is youthful, impulsive. He just lives for today. He values freedom. He's trying to chase after like his perfect lady. And Earl is the one who plans ahead. He thinks there's more to life, but sometimes is sort of like paralyzed by like the like having to plan, like
yeah,
I think he's like I have to stop and think, and
yeah,
sometimes that keeps him from acting.
yeah, yeah. And I think I don't want to call it shallow, but I would say it is the least like thought provoking of the five movies we've watched so far, I would say. But I feel like it's so elevated by everything else that it's doing. And it has these still like like Val still does have an arc, and there is still like this emotional
Oh, absolutely.
core to it, and like the romance story as well.
I mean, he's got his own HJ going on here. Everybody knows that HJ is hero's journey. Um, there is character development, and it is like that thing that I've been saying, where like I like this idea of like a workman or like a blue collar sort of. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't like it because of the socioeconomic implications. But this film that like is like I know what I am, and that's what I'm delivering on.
Yeah, totally.
I love the line too, which really sort of shows a lot about Earl. He says, "Here it is Monday, and I'm already thinking about Wednesday." It is Monday, right?
Yeah, I was trying to remember the exact line because yeah, it falls so well into what you were saying that Earl is the one thinking ahead, but even him like is just like, wait, what is it?
Yeah, man. I feel like when I first watched the movie, I don't know. Actually, that's probably not true. I feel like I'm always a bit of like I'm a little bit of an Earl.
I can see it.
I guess I am kind of impulsive, but anyway, we all got a little Val, a little Earl in us.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to a lot of the characters in this movie.
Yeah, dude. I realized towards the end too, Val's wearing red, Earl is wearing blue. It's like twin dragons, like
wow.
fucking Ryu and Ken. It's
Oh my
the
gosh,
fucking
I didn't even think
classic,
about that. That's such a good
like,
point.
hero duo shit.
Yeah, Mugen and Jin, Samurai Champloo fans out there.
Hell yeah.
Um,
The way he gets so fucking excited when he thinks that he's like, that one's supposed to be a girl or whatever, dude. I think too, like for being from 1990, for the most part, like and of course speaking as two men, it seems pretty tame, like
oh yeah,
in that regard.
I mean, Rhonda's a badass. There is one scene with her that's a little much, but like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's just say it instead of getting to it later. When she tells her to take off her pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's also like it is funny too. Like and like immediately she has pants. Like it's not like, oh, she's not gonna have pants for the rest of the movie, because that's some shit they would do in like a movie like this, right? Oh, she's just gonna be running around in her underwear.
Yeah.
But no, like
they know what they're doing. It does lead to that nice moment afterwards of him cleaning out the shrapnel in her leg and all that. But yeah, it is. It had to be the girl to lose her pants, right?
Yeah, of course. God, why couldn't it have been Kevin Bacon?
Speaking of Kevin Bacon, I didn't, like always, I try not to look into things too much. I like coming into these with more of just like my fresh take on it and stuff. But I do remember hearing that his career did not go very well after this, and for a long time he kind of blamed this movie. I don't think this movie did great when it came out. It kind of became a cult classic over the years, and then in hindsight, Kevin Bacon has been like, yeah, no, I love that movie.
It is campy, like you know, and like
absolutely.
I think that at times people, it's so much easier to see campy like 30 years later and be like, "Oh yeah, for sure," you know. But I think at the time sometimes it's hard to receive that. It is weird to me too cuz Reba McEntire's in this movie and I feel like she was already like pretty well-known musician at this time.
Yeah, and maybe before we end the episode, we can double check how it did on opening weekend and stuff. But yeah, it. I love it. I loved it. Like I think it definitely always had a following. But over the years, that following's gotten bigger and bigger, and people have kind of recognized it was just one of the greats that didn't get a lot of love when it came out. Um,
I do think it's also great. So he gets excited, they fucking drive over to her and she immediately introduces the sort of the question or the sort of problem,
yeah,
right? She says there are these seismographic irregularities.
geography, no geology,
Yeah, it's good.
seismology. I love that.
It's really good. And I love it's like we find this out cuz Val is horny.
Yeah, he has all the pictures of his past love interests up there.
No, it's one lady.
Oh, is it?
It's the same lady. He
Okay.
said Tammy Lee Baxter?
Right. I
Is that what it is? Tammy Lynn?
yeah, yeah, I think it is Tammy Lee Baxter. Well, Earl is commenting on how it's always the same type, so I guess I just associated that with being in multiple women. Um, I have written down here Earl is the ultimate wingman in this movie. Throughout the entire movie, he's just like, I just want my buddy to be happy.
Why don't you talk to her? Yeah, he's a good guy. He's fun. He's a fun character.
Yeah.
But Finn Carter is the one who played Rhonda. I looked into her a little bit because I was like, yeah, I like how she's doing this sort of like nerdy, like
Uh-huh.
university sort of role, and this is like I think probably the biggest movie she was ever in.
Wow, that's a shame.
I did
I like
see
her a lot in
her
this.
dad is this dude Hotting Carter the Third, some sort of journalist, and I guess he was a politician who worked
Hmm.
under the Carter administration. Very interesting, but
Then, yeah.
yeah, and I think we also from the scene again another sort of very like everything serves a purpose. Earl is talking to Val, kind of saying like you need to get out of like your typical frame of reference. You need to like branch out, like maybe like don't keep chasing the same girl. Like
Yeah.
try meeting someone new, like this
Expand
like
your
smart
horizons,
this
which
smart
kind of
lady.
goes a little bit into one of my themes of spiritual reawakening, like reawakening of himself in a certain way, which is kind of the hero's journey in a lot of extents.
Dude,
But
it's his HJ, dude. Speaking of which, he does say, I'm a victim of circumstance. And then Earl says, I thought you'd call it your pecker.
there's so many just like little witty lines, and yeah, just the way everyone talks in this movie, it's just like there's no wasted line. It's like every line is entertaining, character building, or moving the plot forward. Like it's all so good.
Yeah, and I feel it, that being said, it feels, like, not, I don't want to say like natural in a movie
Mhm.
way, it
Yeah.
feels appropriate where it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. Like, it doesn't, like, I'm not like, why do they say that? Like, there's nothing that like really is like, I mean, there is one part where I was like, this is jarring, and I'll talk about it when we do get to it. And I was like, dude, this is bad acting.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We will get to that one later.
Yeah. I was trying not to say it, but we will get to that one.
Hell yeah, dude. Do you notice on the side of the truck it says VE Odd Jobs?
Oh no.
Should we have called ourselves CF Odd Pods?
Oh. Yeah. Scrap Cinema Forecast. We'll have to put a little intro at the start of this
Yeah.
one.
Friggin' second rebrand, baby. Here we go.
I love that the city is called the City of Perfection.
Perfection,
Population 14. A
yeah.
little
Isolation right there, dude.
yeah, isolation. But also, did they know they were writing like a perfect script when they called it the City of Perfection? Or
Wow. Wow.
um, yeah, more setup. They go to Walter Chang's shop. Is that what it's called, or Walter Chang's Market? Um, set up the ice machine.
That's great. I love that. I also do want to call out before this, that as a certified NBA sicko, I saw Marvin.
I think it is Melvin.
All right. Anyway, they call him Pizza Face. I saw him with the Rock, dude. I saw him fucking with the ball. There's some good basketball shit in this movie. Like not like
That's funny.
the basketball plays a crucial role later on as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it does. Yep. Yeah, all the that's actually a really good point in terms of we haven't really mentioned just the sound design in this movie in general, just constantly things constantly tapping at the ground. They're constantly
Yeah.
making you think of sounds hitting the ground throughout the whole
Yes.
movie, and they're constantly setting that up.
It's mixed in a way too, where like those sounds, like a lot of times in maybe you wouldn't even get like that, those sounds maybe even really in the mix when you're watching the movie,
Right.
but they're like doing a good job of like subtly highlighting them, but like not to the point where you're like, wow, real obvious, right? It's like subtle. I like it. It's well
Yeah,
done, well mixed, well incorporated.
totally. Um
This is when we first see Reba as well.
yep, and
Her and
Bert,
friggin' Bert, and immediately they're fucking talking about guns
the
too.
doomsdayers.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
doomsday preppers. I didn't know that this archetype existed this early on.
I love it. I love these characters. They're so funny.
But yeah, the like as you said with the refrigerator, it feels very natural as a setup. Like it doesn't feel forced.
Yeah, it's just something
It
that
is just like
happens.
a fun little thing. Like,
Something
oh,
you
okay, yeah.
something you wouldn't think about unless you've already seen it before. Yeah, totally.
Again, great setup, payoff, really rewarding sort of filmmaking for your viewer. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like this movie it's hard like I'm going to keep my eye out moving forward if there's anything that has this tight of a set setup payoff structure moving forward cuz I think this is the tightest so far in that regard.
yeah, yeah. I perhaps with the like hero's journey stuff, wasn't
Yeah,
contextualizing it quite the same way, because it
totally
is,
too.
I mean, there a lot of those steps are set up payoffs for each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really, like I said, fun, rewarding movie. Trash Day fucking sucks though, dude. Trash Day sucks.
I love that they're drinking beers out of the toilet.
Yeah, he calls it a cocktail too. You want
Yeah.
a cocktail?
Yeah,
That's
and
funny. That's good humor right there, dude.
and oh, actually, before this, we see Rhonda leaving her work site, and this is the first time I think we get one of the crawling ground shots to show
Yeah.
the perspective.
Oh shit, that's freaky, dude.
Yeah, it is, man. This movie is very
So
unsettling.
disconcerting. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love it. But yeah, drinking beers out of a toilet. That we next see them at the septic
Yeah.
tank.
I do want to say, drinking beers out of the toilet, that is good humor. You might as well sell it out of an ice cream truck, because that's good humor, baby.
And I love this whole setup here where he's like, I think Earl's like, I am this close to
Yeah.
leaving this town today. And Val's like, how close?
Yeah, how
From the
close?
septic
They get
tank pipe.
shit all over each other.
Melvin is just laughing his ass off in the background. So good. Yeah, we also set up the pogo stick pretty quickly after this.
It is Melvin, yeah. Dude, it's so funny. I literally had the list of actors right in front of me. And I'm just like, what's the kid's name?
um, yeah, and they leave town. And
This is again good setup payoff. I wrote this because, like I said, I have my literal note is some good simple workman setup payoff going on here. Like it is intentional and it is well shot, well done, and very sort of efficient.
yeah,
But it is wild to me that friggin' Mario and Luigi are in this fucking movie.
wait, when?
The road workers, Carmine and Howard, I think are their names. They look like Mario and Luigi,
Oh my
dude.
God, that's
One of them is
so
named Carmine
funny,
too.
bro.
Just a little little Easter egg.
That's amazing.
And I think, but like before they I think in the midst of them leaving town is when we have our first attack, right? In earnest.
Uh,
When the sheep are going wild. I think they start driving out of town. Then we cut to what's his name? The farmer
Fred.
Yeah, Fred.
Yeah,
His
but
sheep are freaking out.
I think they first find the radio tower before that. Unless I wrote those notes backwards.
No. You're right. They do find that. And he dies of dehydration,
Yes, dude, I love this whole setup here because you as the audience know something's wrong. But just the setup of why is he up there? It's just such a creepy, eerie situation. Yeah, he died of thirst because he wouldn't come down from the radio tower.
Yeah, the implications of that are Amazing. That is very Lovecraftian. Like I feel like you would see that in that sort of story there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Man, that's fucking great idea for like a yeah, Call of Cthulhu campaign or something. But
Hell yeah.
that I love the way it's shot too as he's like going up.
Mm-hmm.
Also, dude, this I think this is the second time they play rock paper scissors, and this is the
Yes,
second time he
I meant to mention
loses.
it the first time. Yeah, that another big setup and payoff thing in the
I
movie.
kept track of the score too.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah. Oh yeah, real quick. There's they do this a couple times. Um, and I really like this shot here when they're pulling up to the radio tower. They like they pull over and the camera is just all one big shot of them driving into frame, getting out of the car, and just this slow big pull up from them. And they do that a couple times with the camera in the movie.
Yeah,
And it's just
letting the scene breathe. A lot of good establishing shots, which I think really I started to feel a little bit like that's good for desert. I want those big wide shots to show you how, like, if we're talking about like cinematography wise, what are elements of a desert movie? I want wide shots that breathe
yeah,
so that I can get a sense of that sort of scale.
yeah, and
Also, I did write this down later. The actors gotta get dusty and they gotta get sandy. That's gotta happen. And it definitely happens in this one.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think that works two ways, right? Those big shots, it sets up them there. But like I was saying earlier, there is this kind of, in a horror movie setting like this, there is this kind of Lovecraftian undertone of shots like that, especially as you start to know the threat more and more of like they are exposed, they are out in the open, they are a little dot in this big hostile world, right?
Yeah, just as you are isolated, you are trapped. I like
Yeah.
those like sort of like dualities that we see. And with the radio tower thing, I love too that he says, it's Edgar, right? That's his
Yeah.
name. Dude, the actor's name is Sunshine Parker. What a fucking name!
Oh, Sunshine Parker, Sonny Parker. That's so good.
But he knows it's him because of the jacket. He always wears the same damn jacket. That's good.
Yeah, good world building setup. Um, and I didn't actually count them out, but I wonder if we see all 14 of the population. I think so, right? Of the city of perfection.
Should we count them out
we
right now?
could, we could.
All right, we got Megan, the doctor's wife. We got Jim, the doctor. We got old Fred. We got Edgar. We got Walter Chang, Nestor, Mindy, Miguel, Nancy, Melvin, Heather, Bert, Earl, and Valentine.
Oh my gosh, it really is. That's so great.
That is really cute. Yeah, I guess Howard and Carmine didn't live in the city. They just worked on the road.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. One of them city slickers.
I mean, Mario, I think he's from like Brooklyn, huh?
Okay, and then we get
Then we get the sheep. This
the
is
yeah,
this is fucking the setup as well for eventually the
yeah.
head in the ground.
Yes, dude. That's one that definitely haunted me as a kid. I think that was one of the scenes I looked away from as a kid, I remember. I was
Yeah,
just like,
I
wow,
I did
horrifying.
write too about this point. We're 15 minutes into the film. Like
Yeah, dude. Everything these it's so fast. It's crazy. But it doesn't feel like it's rushing. It's
yeah,
just boom, boom, boom. You're in it.
15 minutes in, someone gets attacked, and it cuts immediately to the seismograph, setting up the connection between the seismic irregularities and the monster.
Right. And I love the slow buildup of actually what is happening to these people. Right? Like you don't see something grab him. You just see him like it's just his like chest up kinda,
Yeah,
I believe. And then he just like starts screaming and kind of falls off camera as dust is going about him.
yeah, for
You don't
sure.
really have any idea what's going on. And every time it escalates, what you're seeing is happening to these people. It becomes more and more horrifying.
It is done in like it's done quickly, but with enough time to really build the tension. That's what's cool about this movie. Very efficient, but still allowing time to build the tension, you know? Like whenever they are presented with a new problem, which is always a fun setup, like a fun thing in like horror movies when you have this sort of like um plan foiled, like adjust, replan. Um and during those moments there is where they are like trying to come up with a plan, there is the tension of like, fuck, dude, maybe just give up, right? Like you're just like stuck here.
Yeah. Yeah, there is moments of hopelessness for sure in this movie too, which is one of my desert themes.
Yeah, and what I was saying earlier too about the setup and payoff is like they drive past the workers, we see Mario and Luigi, then like they drive back.
back,
They have to
and
drive
they tell
back
them about
because
there's a killer. He's
yeah,
chopping people's
yeah. There's a
heads
body,
off. Yeah,
and that's how they end up ultimately getting stuck.
yeah,
Because then they tell him, all right, well then go to Bixby and let the like police know, and they're like, okay, we'll go, and then road is blocked, right?
yeah, yeah. No, I love that they're trying to leave, and the reason they go back. And this is funny because this happens in the movie we're watching next week. A little foreshadowing there. The reason they go back is out of the goodness of their heart. They could have just kept going, right?
Yeah,
That they saw something was wrong on Fred's farm.
they
They
could just
pulled
be
over
like,
because they're the heroes and they wanted to check on him. They saw his head and they're like, okay, well, now we have to go back to town and call the police, right? They could have just kept driving, kept out of this whole situation. Call of responsibility, kind of.
yeah, it is pretty. Because I think what happens with Edgar's body,
The
like,
police comes.
oh yeah, that's right, they bring
Yeah,
him down.
because he kind of explains what he's like. No, he died of dehydration.
That's right. That's right. Fuck, man. Every time I hear it, dude, I'm just like, that's so sick, dude. Like he didn't get eaten. He's a victim of them because he like was so terrified.
Yeah, the horror.
And like then you like kind of evokes the image in your mind of like him running, like scrambling up the
And he's
tower.
got the gun up there. I'm sure he tried to check if they were still down there at some point. They probably almost got him, and he got back
wonder-
up there. Like
Yeah.
very sad end.
I wonder about
for
the
old Edgar.
foundation of those towers, dude. They're probably pretty sturdy.
Yeah,
Dude, they should have done that. They should have climbed the tower, dude.
yeah. Just bring a bunch
Fucking
of food up
idiots,
there.
dude. Fucking
You
idiots.
would have nailed it.
I
Yeah, the construction workers die pretty much right after this.
yeah, poor Luigi, dude. He gets really fucked up.
Yeah, I like when they get warned. One of them just kind of brushes it off, and
Yeah,
they're great. And the other guy like starts looking for a weapon. And he's like,
yeah.
"I'm gonna get him."
That's Luigi who shakes it off.
And just like again, in terms of deaths, like in horror movies, I feel like the deaths have to be fun, right? Like not always, but like
He
they should
gets his
be
legs
they
get
should be
wrapped
memorable.
up
Yeah,
in the
he's using
fucking
the
cord.
jackhammer, and then his leg gets wrapped up, and he's just getting pulled across the ground, which is again horrifying and
It's so fucked
intriguing,
up.
and you're wondering what the heck is happening.
It is also sort of like a setup for their tentacle things, right? Like
Yeah.
that, like because that is kind of how it works. They like grab you, you know.
Yeah.
I thought of when they try to pull out again to go to Bixby. When he backs into the fucking wall of dirt, I immediately thought of Project Zomboid. The way that Earl looks at Kevin Bacon in that moment.
Oh, great job. Yeah. Crashing
like,
cars.
Yeah, I immediately made me think of you and when we play Project Zomboid, and like somebody like just bumps into something. You're like, oh, like I can just hear you on your microphone, just like so tensed up.
Oh yeah, and speaking on Lovecraftian horror here, when they pull up on the road blockage, Earl does say, "Is there some higher force of work here?"
Yeah, I love that line. It's a great line.
Like every time we try to leave, we get pulled back in. Road is blocked. Yeah, and they're setting up kind of the main villain here, which is funny in a situation like this, but they set up the graboid, as they call them, who tries to grab their truck here. The first one to really go for our heroes, and he gets one torn off, and he ends up being the last graboid.
Yeah, it's our first sort of what we think is the like monster face reveal.
Yeah,
I kind of love that we think, oh, this is the monster. That's wild.
Yeah, and
then
they set up something's still not quite right here because Bert's like, that's got to be one strong son of a bitch to be able to stall out your truck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the way he gets in there and just like, I'm like, that's so gross. It's so like disgusting and like incomprehensible. Is I think what's so like off-putting about it. But this is when I noticed that Bert is wearing a Hawks hat the whole time, which is a basketball team. And I was thinking like this movie came out in 1990, so probably shot around 89. And I was, I went on to Basketball Reference, looked up a little bit, and I was like, that's got to be the Dominique Wilkins era. And I looked it up. Oh, man, Moses Malone, chairman of the boards, they called him. Doc Rivers, still a current NBA coach. Got Spud Webb, a former fucking dunk contest participant. Kenny the Jet Smith, person who I love to watch on TNT, NBA on TNT every Tuesday. And like I said, Dominique Wilkins was also there. Yeah, I feel like this is like it makes sense that he's wearing it. I feel like they during that time.
Bert's hype About the Hawks.
Yeah, fuck. It's weird though that he's like a doomsday prepper, but he's like, but I love me some basketball. Like I
Hey,
gotta
man.
have a satellite, and he does have a satellite, a huge
Man
satellite on his.
of many interests. Yeah, totally. Um. Oh yes, the next scene is poor Jim
Yeah,
and
I
his wife here.
I did want to point out before that Mindy is played by Ariana Richards, who's the same actor who plays Lex in Jurassic Park.
Oh, fun. Yeah, and now I see that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I immediately was like, where do I know her
Yeah, I
from?
think I had even heard that before and just forgot. That's great.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jim's death, absolutely horrifying
It
here.
is so heartbreaking, dude.
Yeah, they're such a sweet couple. They finally kind of got their dream spot under the stars, and they're just like living it up.
It
They're
is
so
cute how
excited
he
about the
says-
future.
So cute how he says like, "Oh, maybe we don't have to build a roof so we can always stare at the stars." It's pretty cute.
It's really cute and very sad.
They're a very wholesome little couple. I do think when friggin' Dr. Jim gets dragged down, the guy is really going for it. He is giving it a lot, and I'm like, dude, okay, whoa, maybe just scale it back a touch. But again, camp is fun, right? I think I expected to encounter some of that sort of really swinging for the fences style of acting in this film.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I think back on the scene. I kind of like it, dude. It's kind of he's so horrified. Like he's so like he reverts to just complete panic. But yeah, I can see what you mean too. A little on the camp.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, as you all have heard me say so many times, it doesn't like take away from it, but
Sure.
but it is definitely, hey man, we're here to deliver some fucking well-founded analysis. Maybe not
Absolutely.
well-founded, but definitely analysis. Maybe not analysis, but I got a microphone in front of me. I'm going to say what I think.
We got the car getting swallowed.
Oh, but she when she rushes, that part is so great. Such
Yes.
a great
Reba gets turned on the radio here. I'm pretty sure that's Reba.
right, but I mean like the just the horror of like her getting in the car, there's no keys, and like she's just like freaking out, and then we have the setup of the music on the radio and her in the car, and I love the eventual payoff when they go and like check on them, right?
Yes.
And they're like, where's the golden oldie coming from?
Yeah, I love that line.
And like when they brush it off, I know this comes later on, but they're just like such a great setup payoff. It's hard not to immediately talk about it.
It's so good.
And just the implication again, there's so many good implications through like really good visual storytelling. Like, for example, think about the fact that you don't have to bury a whole car to pull that scene off, right?
yeah.
Like, you imply the burial of a full car, but really you just have to like find like a grill and just like dig up like this much but like and from like like I just think about that because I'm in that like producer or filmmaking context of like, oh, that's really smart.
Yeah.
You're able to deliver on so much horror through something that's actually kind of like really efficiently done. Again, efficient is
Yeah.
the name of the game here.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just have a note that while Reba's on the radio, one of the lyrics is "Just me alone at a table for two,"
Wow.
which is just so
Talk
sad.
about desert or
Yeah.
dessert.
Oh wow! Yeah, this really does kind of fit the pun of our title. Which one is it?
I just realized like except that's like one of the only night shots. This film is mostly shot outside during the day, which is
That's a good point. Yeah, we get a couple late night, but maybe just one more, because it's only over like 2 days or 3 days, maybe.
yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, the shot of the headlights going up in the sky has always, in her screaming, has always like stuck in my head since I was a kid.
I think she is great. I think she's like awesome. Like no qualms with her performance there. Like she goes big and it like fully delivers for me. Just to give a little bit of contrast,
Heck yeah.
it's compliment sandwich. This is really just one long protracted compliment, really, because this
It's a hard movie to nitpick. I mean, like, little things here and there, but,
I mean, I don't think it's hard to nitpick it. It's just kind of makes you. It's hard in that it makes you not really want to nitpick it.
That's
Like, because
fair,
it's
yeah.
fun. Like,
Yeah.
fun is the enemy of the nitpick.
Yeah,
Rule of cool, as we say.
yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of rule of cool in here, for sure.
Wait. This is a very important moment. Philosophically, fun is the enemy of nitpick. Let us remember this.
Let's put this on a t-shirt. I love I think we immediately cut to Chang. They sold him the head of the tongue from the graboid or
Yeah.
whatever, and now he's using it to sell photos. And
Yeah,
Earl's like,
they have
"Man,
the
you-"
whole like exchange about like $20, 10, 15.
and he's selling them for $3 a pop or whatever, and the man who plans ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And Earl's not even mad about it. I love that.
He's just like, dang it.
And it also sets something up later on where they get really excited about like the potential about having a full one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love I think this is when they're kind of playing what they should do, and Val kind of loses his temper. So he definitely is kind of the leader generally throughout the movie, I would say. And you see him stepping into that role here where everyone's like, "Oh, well, maybe we could do this and this and this," and he's like, "You guys aren't actually listening here." And he pulls the map off the wall and throws it on the table. Look at our surroundings here. And this is the line where,
The smorgasbord.
yeah.
I think this is also the same scene where Miguel, sorry, let me be true to my mother language, my mother tongue. Miguel says, "You make it sound like a war." And Bert says, "What do you people got against being prepared?"
Well, yeah, and I just wrote down I love this cast of characters. Like for being a 90-minute movie, the fact that they set up such well-defined, funny, like interesting people that all like feel like they have this history with each other and they all have their own big personalities, like it's just so well done and so efficient, as you've been saying.
I just looked up Michael Gross, the guy who plays Bert, and he was in Tremors Shrieker Island in 2020, and it looks like he was in a bunch of the sequels.
Yeah, I remember he shows up in some of the other ones.
I like him a lot. He's a very fun character.
He's great,
I think
yeah.
the first time we watched this movie too, we were like kind of stoked on Bert.
Oh yeah.
Bert and Earl are like just God. I like this like fucking down home guys just like I love guys. I don't know. They're just fun guys.
Absolutely.
Bert's got a great mustache too. A lot like speaking of mustache, one of the things I wrote down is Kevin Bacon has this movie star thing that I talked about previously, where he's not just like a handsome guy, but he has like he's interesting to look at because part of his face is just unusual. Like I always felt like his nostrils made his face look kind of skeletal in like a way. So it is sort of like you are drawn to him and like his expressions, I think,
That's
kind of
yeah.
deliver more. And this is like a big sort of performance where, he is, like you say, losing his temper, just like making those big faces like, why like, listen to me. Like, we need to move. We need to mobilize. Because that's him. He's all about action, right? We need to act.
Yeah. Totally, and he's always been the one who hasn't had a plan before, so you kind of see him when his back against the wall stepping into that role.
He's starting to the arc is starting to develop.
His HJ.
I also, his HJ indeed, he is climaxing into his HJ. I love how Heather and Bert are like the conservative prepper couple, and then we have Nancy, right, who later on, you see a VW bus parked in front of her house, and the way she dresses, she tells them like, because she's like this sort of temptation for them. Temptation of the goddess, you might even say at one point.
Yeah, she offers them beer.
Yeah, she offers them
that
beer.
almost gets them.
To help like build the kiln. Yeah, and Val is like, I can't believe we turned down beer. But also, that's another fun part of it is like the choice to be like, this is like the vocal pattern, like it's gonna be like feel like rural in that way. I loved that choice because it makes the lines even more fun to repeat. But then like Nancy is kind of like the hippy dippy.
Yeah.
So we have this like duality. Because they're like, we're stuck in this valley at one point. Like, there's no way out. And she's like, oh, I bet you guys love that. You know, how isolated we are.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's little things, right?
Yeah.
Little,
and again, like
pieces.
I was just showing the history between these characters, too, where like you could tell this has annoyed her about them for a long time, and now this is like a high stress situation, and that's coming out.
Yeah, she has her daughter who is a fucking world record pogoist. And these people are like running around with guns around her daughter all the time. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I would maybe be a little bit like, guys, calm it down a little bit.
for sure. Quick note on some more foreshadowing here or setup. Um, I don't remember the exact context of this, but they do say at one point, "For all you know, they can fly," which
Yeah,
is an ending to his final line
yeah,
when
yeah,
he
for sure.
wins. We also got Melvin being the boy who cried wolf here.
Yeah,
Uh, he keeps messing with everyone, throwing a basketball through the window and all that.
literally wrote Melvin is the boy who cried wolf
Yep,
at
for
one
sure.
point. I also do love how the movie knows that Val and Earl are the heroes. Like, they're like, who's the best on a horse?
And they all
They all
turn it
look
on.
over and they both have their backs to the camera. Like, this is like, this is so good.
Yep. They ride off on the horses.
Well, okay, whoa. They do rock paper scissors
Oh,
for the rifle,
yep.
and this is the first time I think Val wins. Now it's 2-1.
Oh,
This is
thank you. I'm
This
so
is
glad
Val's
you kept
first
track
win.
of this. That's
They're
great.
2-1. Yes, I'll tell it. We'll get the final tally at the end.
That's great. Find the buried car. Oh yeah, and I just wrote down on top in regard to my theme of beauty and nature. There's some amazing shots here of them riding the horses.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think that what's cool about them that has to go back to Heather and Bert is we have them from the first shot at Walter's that they love guns. Like, they're buying bullets, and he's like, I thought bullets were bullets. And they obviously have a lot of technical knowledge about that. So we're kind of like establishing the armory for the film, which will come into play later on,
Absolutely.
of course. But as the film does a great job of escalating setups and payoffs and, like, things going awry, like, ultimately it is ingenuity that wins out. It's not just the fact that they have access to all of these guns.
Yeah. They definitely they're constantly doing that. We're like, oh well, we have all these guns now. Oh, but that's not going to be enough. And yeah, we'll
Yeah,
set
they
that up.
do. And, like, we have the reinforcement where they give Earl the, like, like Reba says, just take my huge rifle.
Yep.
Those are insanely huge. Like,
Elephant guns.
Well, later
one of
on he
them,
has
yeah.
an elephant gun. But
Oh, you mean the one they give him on the horses?
Yeah, I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
They must have so much. What does he do for work?
It's a great question. I almost get the sense that they're like retired and like doomsday preppers or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like they like fucking liquidated all their assets and like have all of their cash, like,
Buried somewhere.
or like turned into
That'd be
canned
really
food
funny if-
and ammo.
Yeah. I was gonna say it'd be funny if one of the graboids like got into his buried money or something.
It is also very cute when they like ride off that like everyone's like watching them.
Yeah.
Again, like the movie knows that they're the heroes. And then Mindy is waving at them. It's so cute because everyone's sort of like solemn, right?
Yeah.
And you have that levity of like the kid like waving bye.
They're all just so good.
And then like I love this touch of this sort of compromise sonically of the like harmonica with like the slide guitar.
Oh yeah, I meant to mention that earlier. Actually, yeah, we got Ernest Truce as the composer for this movie, and he does an awesome job. I think.
Ernest Truce.
Yeah, that's his
as
name.
opposed to an unearnest truce.
Yeah, this guy is pouring his heart out here. Yeah, just like such a good mix of really good fun, like country vibe, kind of like dance music to an extent, and then like
You mean like honky tonk?
yeah, and then you got just like really good tense horror music that and like his range in this movie.
And like I said, there's certain areas where there's a compromise. Like there's
Yeah.
this cool sort of like mixed.
Yeah, there's like a really heroic theme that comes in later with the bulldozer we'll get to. But yeah, just great composition and great soundtrack for this movie.
After they ride off on the horses, we get these really lovely landscape scenes. Is when we get to the car that we
Yep.
talked about earlier.
Yep.
Again, fucking love that shit. It's just so well done. Really, really horrifying to think about. I love that like in horror there is this whole question about what to show, what not to show, right?
Yeah.
And often it's like jazz. Like the notes you don't play are even more important in a way, right? The space in like the blank, like the negative space in like an artistic composition, and it is like that is horror's negative space, is like not what you don't show.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
Jim dying, that's terrifying. This lady got buried underground in her car. That's so horrifying, dude.
That's yeah, much worse than anything you could really imagine. I mean,
And she's just sitting there alone thinking about how she just watched the love of her life die.
yeah, while Reba's playing to her about being alone at table for dinner.
Yeah. Damn, dude. I think I'm too sad to keep going.
Oh man, this
Oh,
movie's a bummer.
this movie's so bummer. And I do love that line, as we've alluded to already. Where the hell is the golden oldie coming from? Because we immediately get that song, and I'm like, yeah, where's that playing from? Like, I had almost like forgotten. Like, oh, the car. Yeah, that's so cool. That's a good like
Again, yeah,
sonic
setup,
clue.
payoff. It
Yeah.
works in the scene and outside the scene and helps our heroes find her. I don't know if the battery would have lasted throughout the night, but hey. Or no, she had the engine. No, the engine was off, so it was just the battery.
She didn't have the keys.
Yeah. So it's just
Hole in
yeah.
the story.
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess we don't know how soon after that happens they roll up, I guess. But you would think to get buried. Who knows? It's fun enough that, I don't
Rule
care.
of cool.
Yeah, fun is the enemy of nitpick. Nitpick, you have been destroyed by fun.
So this is when we first get the graboids in their full proper glory. First they grab the horses, poor horses I have written down.
Yeah, dude.
Hate to see it. I think one of them gets
hate
away.
to see a good horse go down.
One of them runs away, I believe, and the other goes down.
Yes.
And then we see one just burst out of the ground. And it looks amazing, dude. The puppet work or whatever the practical effects they do here, so cool.
The monster looks so good.
I believe I saw this somewhere a long time ago that when you see the snakes coming out of its mouth is actually like a reverse shot.
I think, and like, I love they rode past this sort of paved waterway or whatever it is beforehand.
Yeah.
And then, so
little aqueduct.
Yeah.
I think,
So thank you, aqueduct. I was trying to think of the word earlier. I was like, ravine? And I was like, no. I was like, concrete ravine. It's my favorite punk band. But so another setup payoff, just a very like visually satisfying, easy thing to do. They ride past this and then they end up like running towards it. And I do really love that them fucking jumping over, like trying to make it, and then you're like, fuck, they're stuck, but the thing just like smacks its head
punches
up
through,
through the fucking concrete. Fucking terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it killed itself. It freaking just died right there. And this is Rhonda walks up on them and stumbles into the biggest zoological discovery of the century.
Yeah, I also really like the way Kevin Bacon goes, fuck you! A lot, but it's great. Yeah, she also, when she rolls up on them, she says, hey guys, what's going on? Did you notice anything weird a moment ago? And I wrote, welcome to the fucking movie.
Yeah. Love that.
I do love the biological shit that they like start to get into where it's like don't see any eyes.
Yeah.
So it must be totally subterranean. They refer to the things coming out of its mouth as like tentacles, and yeah, they show the little sort of hairs that it uses to like move through the dirt.
Yeah.
And then like with these shots too, we have a really cool sense of scale because behind them we see that mountain range, and it is just this like vast landscape. I know that it's supposed to be set in Nevada. I'm curious where they actually filmed. It's like really cool. I love the valley. The whole look of it is really fucking awesome.
Question.
And I think that very smart to be like, essentially it is like several locations throughout one like larger area. And there is this sort of homogeny, I want to say, or sort of like this uniformity. Like the landscape, there's a continuity of the landscape that I really appreciate in this. Like when they're moving towards somewhere, coming back from somewhere, it all visually really makes sense and really feels like if you were driving these roads or walking these paths, it would be what it looked like there and back, right?
Totally. And I just looked it up. It was filmed in California.
California makes sense. That's where I think originally SS Wilson was stationed too when he had this whole idea.
Makes sense. That's cool.
I don't know if that specific location, but somewhere in California.
Right. Oh yeah, Valentine has the great line here. I found the ass end.
Yeah,
When
and
he's
they immediately start talking about how they're going to like dig it up and get like a truck
yeah,
so they
they're worried
can.
about like breaking the body up with the trench, and
Yeah,
they're
and because they like they
trying to plan
yeah,
ahead.
Walter beat them to it last time, so they're like trying to get a leg up on this one.
That's so
And I
funny.
love how she's just like, shut up. Like, she's like,
Yeah.
shut up. There's 3 more of them. That's great.
Yeah, she
Again,
she looks
we're,
through the graphs because you can immediately understand how she saw it, right? Because they've set up that there are these different sounds, and she's like, "Well, this is from different locations, so there's at least 3 of these."
yeah, I
Yeah,
love the escalation. Like, again, that is awesome. And then, the seismograph starts to go off and they're like, fuck, another
yeah,
one is coming. I do want to say, um, there's a point where I am just kind of like, they are just kind of making her the default smart person, like the kind of just like an encyclopedia. Because there were things that she said where I was like, would she really like know about all of this? I think it's later on, and again, fun is the enemy of nitpick. So I had enough fun, but it's kind of funny that they're like, oh yeah, she's a PhD geology student. Oh, but throughout the movie, we'll just have her deliver like scientific fact when necessary.
yeah, yeah. I didn't really notice that, but
My parents are academics, dude. My dad has a PhD in linguistics, and you know I remember a lot of times as a kid I would ask him questions. Well, I did not understand what linguistics was when I was a very young child, so I would ask him things and he'd be like, "That's not linguistics. I have no idea about that subject." Because I do think there is this sort of idea that intellectuals are just like smart about everything, but there's something to specializations or whatever. You know,
absolutely. But there's also people that are kind of just like that.
yeah, for sure, definitely, I agree. I'll have to when I see my note. I'll let you know. Oh, you know what it is? She starts talking about the fossil record later on, and I was like, it.
But would a seismologist be familiar with fossil record stuff? Yeah, yeah, because she says this predates or anything in the fossil record if it exists or something like that. Or
Or
yeah,
it's not present.
yeah.
There's nothing like it in the fossil record, and it's like
How
that's
would
a
you
pretty
know that?
wild claim to make. I feel like for a seismologist.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's a good nitpick. Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Oh.
Thanks, but again, it was fun.
Yeah, and maybe she double majored.
Also, yeah, and also like I think she does a good job with the role. I like her performance as it, and good performance is also the enemy of a nitpick.
I like this enemy of the nitpick strategy we got.
Yeah, I
going here.
like to. I don't mind nitpicking, and like kind of like
I mean, I think it's kind
chin
of fun.
stroking.
Yeah,
Do people say that?
yeah.
Chin
Now
stroking.
they do.
Stroke my chin. Cut that out.
No, keep it in. Double it.
I why do they smell so bad? They never really explain that, but I love that that's like a theme throughout. He says,
Yeah.
the living ones smell worse than the dead ones.
I mean, I imagine it's because they just got crushed up living beings inside of them, so they just smell like death.
but they gotta have like a digestive system that's
Yeah,
like
maybe
breaking
it's
it down.
very slow. Yeah, that's something I thought about. Is they seem like they eat a lot,
Yeah,
but they move a lot. So I don't know.
that is like one of the setups I wish was a little bit, because there isn't even a part where they're like, "Oh, I smell something." I
Well,
mean,
it's only when they burst out of the
when
ground.
they burst out. Yeah. Oh, they are releasing like gas too, like
Yeah.
sulfur or maybe.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. There's interesting implications.
Yeah, I can
to it.
totally imagine these things smelling really bad. But
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like a huge bug.
um, so they're trapped on the rock, and this is when I wrote the note that this movie embodies the fun of the floor is lava. Um, and I like they actually. It's funny we were just talking about all this because they do discuss here where they think it could come from. This might be the fossil record line.
It is that's the moment, and I love Earl says this ain't local boys.
Yeah, and I really like that we don't know where they came from.
Yeah, me too.
Never,
I don't
explained. They do get into this more in the sequels, but I like we don't need it, and I like that it's mysterious and like just who
absolutely.
knows?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna make sequels about this, I'm already not expecting them not to be as good, but at least give me a little bit of lore.
Yeah, it makes sense to expand upon it. But in terms of especially with the Lovecraftian horror side of it, just like these unknown forces of nature is that extra bit of creepy I like.
So do you know are they alien? Cuz I don't know. Are they alien or are they just
I actually have to look this up because it was either government experiment or alien.
Yeah, I love the government experiment thing, especially cuz they're in Nevada. The both kind of feel like they would work. Um but yeah, I do love to, like, as we were saying, with them being on the rock, it is this
Oh,
furthering this escalating of the whole isolation bit. What did you find in your research?
no, I was wrong on both of them, which is better because I think they say the alien and government in when they're talking about it. Graboids are thought to have awakened in the late 20th century after centuries of long slumber. So they're just ancient creatures,
Yeah,
which is cool.
yeah, there was a part of me that was like, isn't maybe this is like a different movie, but for some reason I thought there were like oil fields, and they were like, and then in my head I was like, oh yeah, because of like the oil drilling, they like wake up these like
Um,
dormant creatures. But that's not in this movie at all. I
There,
don't.
I mean, one of the like I've only like I saw some of them as a kid, the sequels, and even then, some of them were just parts of that I saw. So I'm not super familiar, but I just remember it gets really wacky. But some of them could be prequels.
Yeah, yeah, who knows? Who knows? Um I love the problem solving kind of shit as well, that like
Yes.
we constantly see throughout the movie. Also, one of the really memorable lines happens when they're trying to formulate a plan, and Val is like, let's just fucking like run, and Earl says, running isn't a plan, running is what you do when the plan fails. I just had to note that, fuck, this guy's great, dude. R.I.P. Fred Ward. Like, what a great fucking
Yeah.
actor, dude.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
love
love him in
this role.
this.
He's just so good at being this like mentor figure, but also like a vulnerable hero as well.
Yeah. This is also when we get his first, pardon my French.
Yes,
That
which
comes
is a
up a
great
lot.
setup as well,
Yeah.
because in the end she says it too, and I was like, ah, man, I'm a sucker. That got me. That's good. I like it.
It's so good.
In 10th grade, one of the track and field coaches told me I had a pole vaulter's body.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. What do you think that means? Like short legs, big upper body?
Yeah, strong legs at the very least, right? And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah, little bitty, real strong
yeah, that's a
legs.
good. Yeah, I don't know what makes a good pole vaulter,
All
Alfred.
the scenes following this are so good. The
Yes,
huge wide shots of them pole vaulting in unison. It's really well choreographed, because I think, and it comes off kind of like not effortless, but you're not thinking about like, oh, okay, what take was this? Because the other ones weren't quite in sync the way the
yeah.
director wanted them to like move across the rocks. But there is some really beautiful synchronicity in the way that they move. I love that they took the time. Maybe it was easier than I'm thinking, but it feels like they took the time to get really visually
There was
appealing.
one take where, or one shot where it's all of them in synchronicity jumping together.
Right. I just mean there's also the one that's like 1, 2, 3. Right.
Yeah,
There's these
I
visually
think
appealing patterns.
I think they definitely,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course. I I I I like that shit. Like, it's not just them like kind of randomly pole vaulting. Let's just make it look as natural as possible. Like, we're making a movie. Let's make this visually appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing actually I wanted to note it a little back is I was since we're not doing Hero's Journey, I was kind of thinking about the structure in the movie in more of a act way. And this is definitely a 3-act movie. And I think when they kill the first graboid, or the graboid kind of kills itself, I think that is kind of the end of Act 1. And so from the beginning of Act 2 standpoint, it's a really nice kind of explosive moment of them trying to get away, and then it kind of quiets down a bit, and you get them like, sleeping on the rock together, a little bit of like romance set up here. They kind of cuddle up over the night, and he gives her jacket, sweet moment. I like how tired they both look when they wake up too. I don't know if that was just like makeup or what they did there, but I was like,
It
oh
was
yeah.
very cute. I love it. I also had some notes about the HJ here, because I I do feel like they're fully in the unknown now. Once you see, it's funny because it is like a dual threshold in a way. Like, they've crossed the threshold into the unknown. The graboid has crossed the threshold out of the ground in a way, and like they are face to face with
Yeah.
like the horror that is the graboid. And then when Earl tries to pole vault the first time, he fucks up.
Yep. Trial. His
so
failed
like
trial.
some good road of trials shit, you know?
Oh yeah, I had one more line from Earl here that I really like when they first get stuck on the rocks. He says, "That means we're stuck. That pisses me off."
Yeah, I love that. It's really dumb, but I love it.
Me too.
These are I also wrote that down. Dude, and then when they finally when they book it for the fucking truck, I love that. Like,
Yeah.
it's really like tense, and there's a lot of like excitement in that moment, and the way that she fucking dives through the window and starts pushing the pedals with her hands.
Yeah. Just
And in that scene, like, just the desperation of that. Also, Val just punches one of the fucking tentacles.
yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, it's just such a great, like, every time they just find such creative ways to do these kind of scenes, right? Because it has been very easily to not think that through of how do we make this as fun as possible. Well, she should crawl into the back of the truck, like, and be using the pedals with her hands, and then you get that great comedic moment of like, can you help me, guys?
Somebody help me out? Yeah, that's good.
Good
Could
stuff.
you imagine doing that? Like, because you're not. I mean, I don't think she's steering at all. I think she's just accelerating.
Yeah, no, it sounds terrifying, but also stopping means you might get eaten by a
Yeah.
giant worm. So it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, for sure. That's so true.
Oh yeah, and I just wrote Rhonda's great. Overall, I mean, pole vaulting was her idea. She's very smart. She's always coming up with plans and
Resourceful,
Yeah.
clever.
Yep.
I do like though that in the next scene, Melvin says Melvin says to her.
This is like me with Gil and Finding Nemo.
What did you kept calling him?
Finn.
Finn.
Yeah, I kept calling him Finn.
I love how he says, "Are you supposed to have a theory or something?"
Yeah, no, this whole scene.
That's a good line. They're all like eating sandwiches and drinking beers.
Yeah, it's so good because they're all like grilling her, and she's trying to explain to them she has no idea where this comes from, and she's like, "These creatures are absolutely unprecedented." And one of them, I think it's Esther, is his name. Yeah, but where do they come from? And everyone's like, "Yeah."
You mean Nestor?
Nestor.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy's really fucking dumb, dude. The way he dies is so fucking
Yeah,
silly,
he's the
dude.
only one who's kind of an idiot in the movie. Everyone else is like pretty on top of their game.
He even says at one point, he's like, "One of those things come by me, I'll just fucking knock it over with like," I can't remember what he says. And the guy's like, "No, dude, these things are like super strong." I also love Walter's entrepreneurial spirit that he's like, "We got to come up with a name," and he's the one, and like he's the one who says Graboid.
Yeah, they're going back and forth when they have so much going on in the scene with the different characters interacting that isn't even part of the main story. It's just, but it feels so natural, and they're all like, it just feels like this community.
Yeah, I like that they name the monsters in the movie too, because it's like when you watch this, you're like, oh, what am I gonna call that? The big worm. And there's like, I think other films where fans will sort of come up with names. Like I think with Alien, the face huggers or whatever they're called, like they don't call them that in the first one. People just came up with a name for it. And I mean, I don't know when the word xenomorph is introduced, but I don't think they say it in the movie. So it is cool that they give fans like, okay, this is like this is what we're calling our monster.
And I like that they don't lean into it too much because the majority of the characters still don't call them that.
Yeah. And there are like choice times where it is reinforced.
Yeah.
I also like that Val and Earl wanted to leave the valley, and now again they're like, we need to leave. And it is very interesting to see like the two takes on it, where the first time they're like, oh, we want to leave, we want to get out of here, we're stuck in this like sort of dead end cycle. And then the second time they're like, no, we need to get the fuck out of here to survive.
Right. And I do have that line from, I thought was earlier here, so it must be now, that he says this valley is one long smorgasbord and we have got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I think that's right.
Yes, also have them named Graboids. Silly fun name.
Yeah, I think here we have the reinforcement of those isolation and self-reliance sort of themes, because Nancy says they're bound to come for us when they see the road is out and the lines are cut, and then we immediately cut to someone seems to have come and been fucking killed by a graboid.
Yeah,
right?
and I think is it Earl? Yeah, no, it's Val. Yeah, that's how that works. When she says,
no, I think it's Nestor actually who says it. So I think he's like being like serious, maybe. I don't know, dude. That guy's that is one of the most like probably the most forgettable character for me, but at the
Yeah.
same time, because he's just so dumb, like I don't for Walter and Melvin, I do think are a great sort of like comedy duo
Yeah, I love Walter,
when they're
man.
like like going back and forth about the names. Like it is really funny that they're the two that are most sort of invested in it. And speaking of like comedy, I think Val is explaining to Miguel the like how they respond to the vibrations, and he says, "So like we don't vibrate, right?" And, and it's just fucking funny thing
It
to
is.
say. I love it.
It
Well,
is.
it's also interesting too because I later on when we see them like discover, oh, if you just stop moving, like they can't get you. There was a part of me that's like, I was like, not really, like, because they're like shifting around and like, their heart is beating, their like blood is like. Part of me was like, if they were but
Well, it's vibrations on the ground, right?
yeah,
So probably blood pumping and stuff isn't
I
gonna.
do love the part we will see later towards the very end where he's like lifting his foot
Yeah,
as
and
the
then
tentacles like coming
like
for,
trying to
and he
like
like
bite
gently
at his
sets his
foot.
foot down and then like snaps at it because he knows
Yeah,
it just put his foot down. It's good shit.
I
I
love
love
that.
it. Like, and again, the whole design and the practical effects of the fucking graboid and the tentacles just so unsettling. Like unnatural movement in a way that it is unsettling, but natural in a way that it feels realistic.
Totally, 100%. Um, Pogo Stick comes back here.
Oh yeah, dude. Again, this whole thing of like banging on the ground, banging
Yeah,
on the ground.
great little horror thriller moment of just, oh god, they're gonna get the little girl, and Val runs out and saves her just in time, and this turns into a whole sequence of.
I think before this actually we have the basketball where he's bouncing the basketball. So it's almost like a setup for the pogo stick.
Right, that's right.
I also, because I do have a da 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 product placement patrol.
Okay.
We get Virginia Slims, we get Marlboros. There
Mm-hmm.
was Orange Crush in there earlier.
I actually had one later.
The Pepsi and
Yeah, it was a pretty
when
subtle
they're doing
one.
with the ammo. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also very clearly he's wearing Converse at one point.
Mm.
But yeah. And then I wasn't sure if she was wearing Keds or Vans when she changes her shoes later on. But anyway, that's that. So yeah, it and then we have the payoff of him of Melvin being the boy who cried wolf. Like,
Mm-hmm.
also it's interesting because his name is Melvin Plug in the credits. That isn't a last name that appears
Yeah,
anywhere else in the
that
credits.
is something I've wondered, and I'm just remembering now that I've wondered this. Where the fuck's his parents?
Where are his
Who
parents?
is this guy?
Is he like? I mean, I guess maybe he's like Nancy's like nephew or something.
He might just be staying with them for the summer or whatever.
Yeah,
whenever
who
it
knows?
is.
Maybe his parents are dead,
Yeah.
and he was bitten by a radioactive spider.
um. I think the next thing I have is Rhonda's pants coming off.
Yeah, I will say with the pogo stick part, Val is a fucking hero, dude. Like,
Oh yeah.
the
yeah.
way he like runs towards her
Absolutely.
and dives to grab her, it is really just like you said with the Spider-Man thing, right? Like him running straight at the danger. I love that. Like cuz sure he's kind of like vain, a little like superficial, but he's like not a jerk, Like
Yeah.
like he cares about these people.
Yeah, and we saw it. Like we said, they had the chance to leave town, but they made it their problem because this is kind of their community too, even if they're trying to leave it.
Yeah, and I love we have the escalation of there are two of them now that are attacking them.
Yeah.
And the part that ultimately leads to her taking her pants off too is that she trips on the barbed wire
Uh huh.
and then it comes for her, so she rolls.
No,
more.
no. It's she trips and then the graboid is grabbing the wood with the wire that's attached, like that she tripped on, and so it's pulling her and rolling.
No.
her.
First she rolls away, then it starts to pull
Oh,
out
okay,
at her.
okay.
Like so because first she trips and she's just caught on it.
Right.
Then it comes at her and
That's
she
right.
tangles herself into it further.
Yeah.
I rewatched this part.
Okay.
Because I was like, this is wild. Like you are like cutting your legs up. Like it's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Part of me
Ouch.
was just like, I feel like I don't know. What
You're
would
also
I do?
like something's trying to eat you also.
Yeah.
So
I feel like rolling up in barbed wire. That looked so fucking painful. But yeah, then I did have a note that it does give the opportunity for her to be like saved by Val, right? Which
Yeah.
I think so it serves a narrative purpose.
Yeah, and I do really
Narrative purpose is
the
like
enemy.
a light enemy of fun because I mean, it has to work with some other stuff, but
100%. And yeah, like I said, I really like the scene afterwards. It kind of quiets down after all that excitement, and I think there's just some like nice music playing, and he's tending to her leg, and it's a really like tender moment between them, and you have Earl sitting there like giving them both the eyes, and they both
yeah,
get embarrassed. It's pretty funny.
good peaks and valleys,
Yeah.
We
Um.
have that rising crescendo of action and then like a moment to like kind of like chill before like the stress comes back when
Yep.
the fucking fridge goes off
Yep.
again.
Ice machines starts, or yeah, maybe just fridge starts going off. Before that, we also get reemphasized again. One of the major themes. They say we got to have a plan.
Yeah.
A lot of what this HJ is about. Um,
I also, dude, when he's saving her, the other one pops out and they're
yeah,
trapped between them at one point, which
yeah,
is a great visual sort of metaphor of like, I want to say isolation in a
mm,
way, but it is like more so like trapped,
yeah,
but they kind of like feed into each other. Because that's another part of this whole thing is that because they're isolated, they are trapped.
yeah. 100%. I'm with you there. Poor Mr. Chang.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe the most horrifying death in the whole movie.
Yeah, I think, yeah, for sure.
It
And
burst through. I love the way it burst through the ground there, though. It
yeah,
looks so cool.
the way they all jump at the fridge to like unplug it is fucking, it's great.
And it's the way it's just like going back and forth. The when it has him in its mouth and they're all trying to pull him out. It's
Yeah,
so horrifying.
it's so fucked up.
I hate it,
Did
but I
you
love it.
notice? Did you notice that Bert and Heather's truck, the license plate?
Uzi for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an insane vanity plate. What the fuck?
Yeah, I love that. Oh yeah, and we get I really love the sequence escaping to the roof, the shelves really embodying that. Yeah, the floor is lava again, just like, Rhonda on the shelves, them climbing out the side of the building, just like a great fun action set piece here.
I also think it's fun when you have a like, oh shit, I couldn't save her. Oh, that's
Yeah.
okay. She can take care of herself.
Yep, she gets up the water
Kind of
tower.
thing, like a little bit of like a feint, if you will, a
Yeah.
narrative feint where you're like, oh shit. But then also setting up like now she is separate, right?
Yeah.
Like they're isolated on their different roofs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just it feels so like they want to be next to each other, and like yeah, there's that budding romance there, so they want to be next to each other, but now they're like separated by this situation, which I like a lot, but still can communicate with each other and worry about each other.
Yeah, totally. I love the whole thing. Like everybody get on your roof, get on your roof. And then eventually like them getting on the radio, the way they like hang into the way like
Yeah.
drop him into the window, he gets like the radio, and they're trying to get in touch with Bert and Heather.
It
And
just feels like they're constantly finding every single fun thing they can do while it all feels so natural that they would be doing it.
yeah, for sure, it makes sense. They set up that he had the radio earlier
Yeah.
too.
Yep. Totally. Uh, the frickin' Burt Heather gunfight though.
Yeah,
So good.
I love the setup for it too because they're like yelling yelling at
Get
them like,
on your roof.
yeah, it's coming for them, and then like they like get their guns ready and like look at each other. And then when the wall breaks down and then it cuts to Val and you hear over the radio, Jesus Christ, and like it cuts off in the
Yeah.
middle of him saying it.
And then they hear the gunshots.
And I think
Yeah.
this is when I feel like you get the best look at the monster, like when it like
Mhm.
breaks through the wall. And cause this is the point where I was really like it's looked good the whole movie, but in this sort of like shot where it's all kind of like laid bare,
Yeah.
it is so fucking frightening and so
Yeah.
well done.
And there's the practical effects of it taking like hundreds of bullets or however many times it gets shot. Like, just looks so good. I also love there's like a great kind of comedic shot where it shows them like shooting when it first comes in, and then the camera kind of just like pulls out as they go to the ridiculous wall of guns with hundreds of guns on it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's great, dude. Reba's a real fucking badass too.
Yeah.
I love too the line he says, "You broke into the wrong rec room."
Yeah, I wrote that
I
down,
love
too.
that he calls it their rec room.
Yep. And now there's two left.
Yeah, two
half of them
left.
down.
This is fun too. Kind of similar to a timer in a movie. Like it's good. It's fun to have like a count on things.
Yes,
Like
and the genius choice here is while they are getting fewer, they're also getting smarter. It establishes very quickly that these are smart mother humpers. And we see the return of Stumpy here, and he seems to become the ringleader of the smartest, right? So he is now, it shows him kind of gauging the side of the wall, and it seems like they're trying to figure out the foundations of all the buildings that they know their food is on top of and seeing how they can knock it down. And so yeah, that's kind of the rest of the movie is even though there's fewer of them now, they keep kind of figuring out what their plan is and one-upping them, which is just so good because the stuff they start figuring out is like supernatural in that it's not actually supernatural, but there's I don't know if there's any animals on Earth besides humans that are as smart as some of the stuff that these graboids are planning ahead of.
yeah, for sure. There's like they're like figuring out these sort of like puzzles. I mean, dude, I don't know, like the experiments Skinner did with pigeons. Like they seem to be able to like figure out a lot of stuff in order to like get their like
Yeah,
food rewards.
absolutely. And yeah, I'm not sure there, but this is the upper echelon of the animal kingdom in terms of intelligence here from these horrible underground monsters.
Yeah. I so here is the part where I think there is some not great acting
Okay.
when they say Bert killed one and like like
Way to
Melvin,
go, Bert.
yeah, way to go, dude. He's just all like,
Yeah,
and like they cut
that's
to
fair.
so many people and Nestor is just like pumping his fist. It was I was like I had to like turn away for a second like and hit pause and be like, what
That's
guys,
so funny.
what
And
the
part of it
fuck.
is just that I've seen it so many times that yeah, I didn't bat an eye at that, but I could totally see that.
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? And then again, we have this victory, but now he's trying to shoot at the one with the elephant gun. And she says, you didn't get any penetration, even with the elephant gun.
Yeah.
And they're talking to them on the radio on top of the roof. And I really liked the way the shot was set up. Like you could see in the background, Rhonda is sort of standing alone on the water tower. And again, just this like visual reminder, like kind of like, all right, remember this? Like this is gonna come into play later on. Um, and then this is when fucking around the time Nestor dies, and when I
Yeah.
noticed that he's wearing a Casio calculator watch, which I also have one of, very cool. But God, he's so fucking
Great
dumb.
taste in watches, terrible survival
The way he
instincts.
gets on top of the tire, and they're like, "No, Nestor, that's not gonna work."
He just gets pulled through the tire too, which is also horrible.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. And then we have the truck getting taken out, and further escalation, right?
Yeah. And after Esther dies, this is kind of the biggest, maybe not the biggest, but maybe also at the same time biggest moment of hopeless and futility. Because I think Esther's the last one, or Nestor is the last one to die. And so you get Melvin, you gotta do something, man. You
Yeah.
gotta do something. And they're all just looking like, oh God, this is awful. We're just gonna keep dying one at a time.
Yeah, the kid's kind of annoying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Melvin sucks, but relatable teenager, I guess. Truck is destroyed. And here they come up with the bulldozer plan.
Yes, yes, and we love a plan.
Yeah.
We love a plan. It's the heist-like plan where Miguel is gonna set off the fucking truck as like a little thing as a
Yeah.
distraction, and I love that he chips in too. He like comes up with that. He's
Yeah.
like, "Well, what if we do this as well?" And people are kind of like contributing to the plan, and it's fucking sick because this is also the first time we have somebody just stop to
Yeah.
like avoid being detected, and it's a great tension building tool.
Yeah, totally. Also I like this line here. I think Valentine goes, hell of a long walk. And then Earl goes, hey Melvin, wanna make a buck?
Yeah. And he just flips him off, I think.
Yeah.
This is the rock, paper, scissors. Earl wins, but it doesn't matter because Valentine goes anyway.
Taking it in his own hands.
It's really funny 'cause
Very
he's-
HJ of him.
Yeah, very HJ, being a fucking hero, dude. Being a capital H. He does like Earl's like, I'm older and wiser. I love that because he really. I mean, as far as we've seen, like, yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he's a little bit of the older brother in the
and then
friendship.
he says, "You suicidal son of a bitch."
Yeah, and actually, I think this is the first time, and I don't know if we get it again, probably, where we actually see the camera going through the dirt and not just on
Yeah.
top of it, which is super cool looking.
Yeah, it is a really cool shot. It also like isn't super Like nothing is super defined,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense because it would be really hard to do probably. And it's just the again implication of like terror.
Yeah, love it. Um,
Also, that hit Earl winning that one. That's 3-1 Earl, by the way.
Great, good stuff.
I think I think that's the count for the rest of
Yeah,
the
is
for the
that the
movie.
final one? That's what I
Yeah,
kind of remember.
yeah.
Yeah,
So Earl wins 3-1.
gotcha. Makes
He's
sense.
older and wiser after all.
He just predicted all of Valentine's. He always goes rock, that guy. Um,
Yeah, and then the fucking him on the 1 foot dude, and it's fucking trying to find him. That's fucking
Rhonda comes up with a great plan.
the water,
Rescue
dude.
from without here.
And then, dude, water, man.
Yeah, water, sanctity of water. Yeah,
It's a
love
desert
that.
movie, dude.
But then they realize that Rhonda's there, so things are still escalating. Like it's just every single time
Yeah.
a plan gets filled cleverly. Like it's always a cunning way they come up with this plan, and then it's another escalation of tension. So good.
And this is where I had my note where I was like, wow, like really sort of blown away by the sound design, reinforcing this idea of vibrations attracting the graboids.
Yeah, totally.
I love when they roll up on Bert and Heather. They just start piling so much shit up.
Yeah, and
So much shit.
I thought this was a great. This feels like the climax of Act 2 to me, which is this great bulldozer heroic shot of Val kind of coming in and getting everyone safe. And like there's big this is probably the most cinematic music in the movie in terms of just like a big kind of like sweeping orchestra kind of sound to it. I don't think it actually is a full orchestra, but like just big. It sounds big and heroic, and it's full of hope too. Like it feels like yes, we beat Act 2, right? Like we beat the boss of Act 2.
Yeah, I also think as they're moving away from town, there's more vegetation in a way. Like we see more of these little like shrubs and bushes like we did towards the beginning, and I felt watching this in the context of desert movies that it is kind of a cool sort of like, oh, we're moving away from the isolation, the scarcity of the setting we were previously in.
Yeah, that's a good read there for sure.
Dude, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, baby. We got they're getting smarter by the minute from Val here.
He's got a lot of face work in this. Kevin Bacon doing a lot of like wild expressions.
Oh yeah.
Very fun, like very fun acting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just everyone's bringing it. For the most part. And we got I really like this part here after Bert gets in. He's like talking about like everything he had set up in the bunker and all his prep work.
It's also funny because, like I said, they bring so much shit.
Yeah, and he's just like, God damn underground monsters.
Yeah.
That's what finally got him. I love that.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. I love that line from him. Yeah. Underground goddamn monsters. Like you planned for so much, just never thought to plan for an underground goddamn monster though.
Yes, and so this is probably the point where I really started to think that this is kind of above the animal kingdom for the most part here, is where the graboids, they see them, they see the graboids way out, they see the dust
Yeah.
coming up on the road.
As
and
long as they're
like,
not around me.
yeah, as long as they're not doing it around me, I don't care what they're up to. And they figured out the trajectory of their route and built a hole in the ground. That's
Yeah.
some crazy planning.
It's also wild. Bert is just standing on the top of that thing and then falls over, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. And then he gives the kid a gun, and I don't know. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. And then immediately it's like not loaded, and I'm like, oh, okay,
You
that's
son
good.
of a bitch, Bert.
And then I love that they're back on a rock again, right? Like
Yeah.
that is a great sort of idea because that there is so much good film shit that comes from them being trapped on the rock.
Yes, there is one more great line from Bert here. He asks them what the bombs are, and it's just like a few household chemicals in the proper proportions. It's just like, yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's wild. He just makes a bunch of like fucking pipe bombs.
Yeah, I love that.
Dude, and then when they're on the rock and he's talking about like walking out with a bomb,
yeah, which
like
is
he
what,
just like has this very like morbid suicidal moment, and you see Reba like kind of like, oh, honey.
yeah, which is also what triggers their
Right,
final plan.
Earl comes up with a
Again,
plan.
it's just such a natural like script writing for all of these cunning kind of steps forward.
I think what is funny though, I will say, is that I think so before they're trapped on the rock again, Rhonda does like have like she I think has a she presents this idea like if we run like a fucking a bastard something like that, and then she says the pardon my French thing. What's funny is that her plan is just running, which is the whole thing that Earl said. I did make a note about that. I thought it was a little bit funny. And ultimately, like narratively, it really doesn't pay off, right? Like in a way, because it is this like overwhelming problem that you just need to face head on. Like you can't just run away from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder if at a certain point there she was just thinking, well, we're not all going to get away, but they can't get us all.
Yeah. When they do come up with a plan and Earl is asking him about the bombs, and he's like, "What kind of fuse is this?" And he says, "Cannon
Yeah.
fuse." And he says, "What do you use that for?" And he goes, "My cannon."
I also wrote that down.
He's a fucking cannon.
I just
What
love
the fuck?
Bert.
He's a wild guy. He's like just an extreme. Bet it's not even that extreme. I bet that's very like.
Having a cannon. Yeah.
There's some dude in fucking eastern fucking Oregon with the fucking cannon. You know, who's just like watching that movie, just like, "Yep,
Seems totally normal to me.
seems totally normal to me."
And we do have a great kind of, I think this is kind of lowest moment, if that wasn't the moment with Nestor. And you gotta do something. It's they
Blow up all the bombs.
well no before that they start getting pretty down and like kind of like you said like Bird is talking about like kind of a suicide plan here, and Heather's before that is even like it's like you're giving up.
Yeah.
And one of my themes for
The all is
deserts.
lost sort of moment.
Yeah, it was insanity, and I do feel like that starts to creep in here a little bit, where they start to turn against each other. Bert's like, "Hey, we could have made it
Yeah.
if we just stayed at my place. Who made you the leader?"
We could have
All that.
watched the Atlanta Hawks play the Boston Celtics right now.
So I like that kind of. That's the kind of like the final stress of the movie is we've seen them all work together for so long, and now at the very end, a little bit of their humanity is starting to creep away as they kind of turn against each other a little bit. But that's quickly subverted because, they come up with this fishing plan, which is
Yeah,
another
and it's fun
genius
to
plan.
watch. It's fun to watch them like fucking throw them like that. But ultimately, again, that's not what. And I love this. The ingenuity is always happening, but it's always escalated, and that's the whole name of the game: setup, payoff, escalation, ingenuity. Really, really fucking well done problem solving bits throughout this movie.
Absolutely.
And I do love that, like, the way that it's like, and then it like spits the bomb back out
Yes.
at them. That's
so
fucking wild.
they get one of them,
Yes.
and they get covered in guts, so there's one left.
Also, his blood is like orange. I love
Yeah.
that touch. Very interesting.
For sure. But yeah, that's kind of the final. Oh, this thing's so smart; it figured out the plan you just used a moment ago.
Yeah. And then they're stuck. Like the three of them end up getting stuck out there.
Yeah.
And they kind of have to. It's interesting because it is this like, oh, he comes up with a plan, but he really comes up with a plan on the fly.
Yeah, and they're all everyone else is like, you got to blow up the bomb.
Yeah.
and
To distract it.
yeah, and he's like, well, that's how long is that? He's finally thinking what's gonna happen on Wednesday.
Yes, exactly, dude. I love this about him. Like everyone is, and he's like, no, I have a plan, and he has grown up.
I got a goddamn plan.
And then as they're running, I also love, earlier he had the cigarettes, he
Yep.
had the lighter, she has the
Yes.
Zippo
Yep.
somehow.
Yeah.
I love that's a part of it, like, and that she had another wrinkle.
Yeah. Well,
she
they
has
were
to
all
get,
setting up the bombs and stuff.
yeah,
so.
she has to get the Zippo to like him.
Yeah.
I do remember there's a scene where they're on the rock when they wake up and they both pull out the cigarettes and they never light them because he's like looking for the lighter the
Yeah,
whole
I was
scene.
watching. I was like, "Wait, does he have the lighter now?" And then
Yeah.
he looks in his pocket, and then buttons it up, which is funny.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Also, for a movie where they like smoke at the beginning, there's not very much smoking
Yeah.
in this movie.
It's a good point. It's a good point, especially given the circumstances.
Yeah, that's a fucking yeah. But again, to pay off your line about flying too,
Mm.
can you fly, sucker? So fucking good, dude. Like,
Yeah.
and I love too that they're like, you fucked up, dude. You threw it behind it. You're supposed to like kill it with it. I thought that was your plan. He's like, and he has faith.
He's got this. Yeah. No, it's really his apotheosis. Is kind of trusting in
Fucking
his
love
plan,
it.
thinking ahead. Yeah.
And that's just a great like. That's like such a great scene, like such a fucking money fucking like setup, and like the way you see the fucking cliff face, like, you know,
Totally. Which is where they
burst
started
open.
at the beginning of the movie, so set up there, but also I just thought Stampede, which is also what he said to
That's a
Earl.
good line.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's
And I love how cute. Yeah, it's a great callback. But I wanted to. It just really hit me how cute and awkward they are with each other. That it's not
Yeah.
like, Oh, there's this term "sex at 60" in screenwriting, which refers to a 120-minute film, and typically the hero and his love interest kiss or have sex at the 60-minute mark. But in this movie, it doesn't happen until the very, very end, right
Yeah,
before the credits roll.
and it feels very natural and cute, and you can tell both of them are like, "Well, are you into it?" And
He like crumples up the old pictures as she's walking up. He's
yeah.
also wearing like new digs,
And I
got
love
new clothes
Earl
on.
closes the hood of the
Yeah,
card when he's like just giving him that look like, "Come on, man." He's like, "I'm going to." Oh, I love that. Um, yeah, we also get the People magazine line here, National Geographic. Love
yeah,
that. That just like the fact that like their hero's journey is like, yeah, they're thinking big.
yeah.
People
They're
magazine.
gonna be famous. And he's like, she's going for PhD. What she want with a guy like me?
Yeah.
And then they like, that she asks him something and they kiss and the credits roll. Reba song playing,
Yeah.
fucking sick. It was great.
I love it.
I noticed in the credits there was a Sage Wrangler and a Dirt Wrangler. I don't know what the Sage Wrangler would do, but the Dirt Wrangler, that seems kind of like I'm gonna be checking the credits
Yeah, what's a
for these other desert
dirt
movies.
wrangler? So
I
just
think
like setting up the dirt?
also getting the dirt on the like
Ah,
actors' clothes, right?
makes
Perhaps for
sense.
continuity and shit
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Good call there.
Yeah, so that's something I'm gonna be keeping my eyes open for. Also, one of the carpenters' names was Cowboy Joe. I like that a lot.
I like that too. That's awesome. Yeah, what a great movie, man. I really like this movie. Like we said, not the deepest, not the most
No,
existential, but it just executes what it's doing so well. Like the nitpicks we have are so just like minute, like the actual structure of everything, all the dialogue, all the characters, just the whole plot of the movie is just so well executed and so well done, so fun.
I call it a solid B tier movie.
Yeah, it's A tier for me for sure. It's like which is interesting, right? I was thinking about this a lot. It's like, well, what really qualifies these tiers for me? And I think at a certain point, it's just man, like I think if it makes me feel emotional and elevates me in that way, then it definitely gives it extra points. But I feel like Tremors is one of those exceptions for me where I usually want more emotional core centers out of my movies, but just how tight and fun this movie is every time I see it, and how much I enjoy everything, and how like cleverly written it is, yeah, really elevates it for me to A tier.
Yeah, I mean it's no Finding Nemo, but it's a very fun movie.
Well, well.
So let's talk fucking let us talk desert movie. I think we've done a pretty good job of establishing some things. Um I think that just kind of in summation, like maybe some of the things we're going to be looking for in these further movies. I think the kind of silly ones that I actually think are a little bit serious in a way, like setting, very crucial. We want that sort of like desert setting. We want those wide establishing shots in a cinematographic sense to give us a sense of that scale to bolster the themes. We also want those actors getting dusty and we want them sandy. And then I feel like you did a great job with your themes. I think we had a good amount of like overlap. So do you just want to maybe just wrap on those a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think I basically gave my thoughts on it throughout the movie, and I'm kind of planning on taking these ones forward. If anything occurs to me that I'm like, oh, I actually really want this. Like when I wrote these all out before I watched the movie, and when I was thinking about, I was trying to disconnect myself from the other desert movies I've seen as much as I can. And you can only do that so much, but like, what about desert is evocative to me, and that's kind of where I tried to base these off of. And there's a lot of things that are just buried in culture, like in your subconscious about what the desert represents and all that. So I was trying to tap into that a bit. And yeah, I think, in terms of what this movie accomplishes, we definitely had, the hopelessness, the futility, we had the isolation, water concern multiple times. I don't know how much like spiritual stuff you would say there
No.
is, just kind of like character growth, spiritual kind of stuff,
Yeah.
beauty of nature, definitely. Um, Not too much like silence. I feel like the movie tried to stay fun and more busy. Man vs. Nature, 100% in here. I think there's quite a bit. There's more than I even wrote down originally of Lovecraftian horror in this, I think, for sure.
Yeah, the unknowable,
Yeah.
the unconceivable, for sure. I love that. Yeah, I think the isolation too, played a lot into it with the sense of scale, the vastness. But for sure. So just some of the things we're gonna be looking at, especially when we tackle the next three films. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
Connor, why don't you let them know what we're doing next week?
Oh yeah, very excited for this one. And I gotta say, I loved all the movies we did for Hero's Journey. Um, I think I think this might be overall a stronger category for me, which is saying a lot because I thought that was an extremely strong category. Next we're watching No Country for Old Men,
No Country for Old Men.
first Coen Brothers movie.
Hell yeah. Very exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I am looking forward to it as well.
Well, I hope our dear listeners are too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be it for us today. Find us on social media, YouTube, all the places, Spotify, Apple Podcasts as Cinema Fourcast. And that is forecast spelled Fourcast, because like the number four, because we watch 4 movies a month.
We sure do.
It's pretty good. All right. Well, anyway, I have been Alfredo, and that has been
Connor.
Thank you all so very much. We'll catch you next time.
Later, guys.